Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how easy it is for marriage to take a back seat. But unlike your parents' marriage, your marriage can feel good while raising kids and doesn't have to feel hard. It can look like having each other's backs, even flirting and looking forward to spending time with each other. And I'm here to help you. So join me here each week as we dive into what it takes for your marriage to become something you enjoy again, from how to handle conflict better and bringing that spark back into your relationship. If you're ready for your marriage to feel good again, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. It has been a super long time since I've actually sat and recorded an episode in an office. The last several solo episodes I did were actually recorded in my car. And I'm so glad to get back into the routine of working again. If you're new here, hi, I'm so glad you're here. And the reason why I haven't released an episode in a while is because we moved across the country. So, little recap for those who are new here and haven't been following along. Back in January, our oldest son decided to move to the Atlanta area to live with his mom and try out life over there. And so after a lot of discussion between my husband and I, we eventually decided to actually do the same thing. But instead of moving in January, because we have commitments and all that, like a mortgage and family, we decided to wait until the school year ended for our 2 younger kids and then move. So as I'm recording this, it is the beginning of August. And in the last 7 months, we have decided to move across the country from California to the Atlanta area. We have sold our house, moved in with my parents, went on a 3-week international trip to Japan and Korea, which was amazing. Sold our house, bought a house that we never actually saw in person, which I guess is a thing now. And in June, we moved to the Atlanta area. And earlier this week, the kids started school, pre-K and second grade. And whoa, I can't believe we're in August, honestly, because there's been so much going on ever since we decided to move here. I mean, anyone who has moved understands how much there is to do. And then tack on that we owned the house, so then selling, right? There's that. And then buying a house and having the house not quite be what you expected it to be. We absolutely love the location of the house. We love the house itself. But the condition of the house was not what we were thinking it would be. So there was a lot of upfront work we had to do before we moved. So I was doing a lot of project management while in California. And there's a lot of stuff for us to do after we got here. And there is just, it seems like a whole CVS or Costco receipt long list of things to do that just seems never ending. And we just keep adding to it. And this week is the week that I said, okay, I'm going to give myself the week that the kids go back to school to just breathe. Because it's just been go, go, go. The kids were home with me for the most part during the summer. And I'm so fortunate and grateful to have my own business and to be able to rely on my husband to support us as I took time off to take care of my family, making sure that my kids adjust well, making sure the house is getting put together and managing all that. And while the kids did have some summer camps, they were home with me most of the weeks that we've been here. And so, as you can imagine, as siblings do, they fought a lot, kids have played a lot, and it's been a lot. But thank goodness school starts way earlier here than in California. So I'm glad that we're getting back into a routine The kids are doing really well here. And I was actually supposed to be recording an interview with someone, but she had to reschedule. So I decided, hey, why not record a solo episode? Because it has been a while and I want to get back into the groove of things with this podcast because I actually did miss it. And I missed coming up with stuff to help you guys out with your marriage. So I thought that it would be appropriate because I would be giving such a long recap in this episode that I share with you the lessons that I've learned and have gone through over the past 7 months with having done all of that with my husband, the whole big move, making big life decisions. And yeah, okay. So that's what we're going to cover today. Because no matter what you are going through or have been through, all couples face big life decisions, right? Like as soon as you decide to become parents, that was already a big decision. And then after the kids come out, you've got to decide things like, oh, where are we going to live? Is this where we want to live? What are we going to make our home? Is it an apartment? Is it a house? Are we going to live in suburbia? Are we going to live in rural area? What are we going to call our community? And who's going to take care of our kids? Is it us? Is it babysitters? Is it daycare? What school are they going to go to? Are we going to send them to public? Are we going to send them to private? Are we going to do a charter school? Are we going to homeschool them? What values are important to us to instill in them? And who are we going to choose to be a part of our village? These are just like ongoing things that we decide that have really big impact on our family. And every time you go through one of these moments that you are making big life decisions, it can really test your marriage, but it can also create an opportunity for you to grow stronger together. So here are some lessons that my husband and I encountered so far this year with having crammed so many things in a short amount of time. And here we go. So these are things that I've just thought of as I was sitting here reflecting, thinking about what are the things that we have learned over the last 7 months with everything that has happened. And they are not in any particular order. It is just what came to mind as it came to mind. So, as with everything that I share, take what works for you and fits for your life and leave the rest. Okay. So, the first thing that came to mind for me was how important it is to keep each other in the loop. I know this goes without saying, but I don't know about you, but sometimes life just gets really, really busy and you just start to go in different directions handling stuff, right? We're getting shit done, but my husband and I definitely fell off on keeping each other in the loop. And I noticed that it led to a lot of miscommunication happening, which then led to us getting frustrated with each other, getting angry at each other. And that is definitely not the vibe that I want in my marriage. And so as soon as I noticed that it was happening more and more often, I was like, wait a minute, time out. Something is not going well here because this is not how we normally are. And I was like, we need to get on the same page. Not just every once in a while, but on a normal basis. We need to establish some sort of routine so that we know what each other is doing and we both know that we're working towards the same goal, right? And so that could be talking the night before, like, hey, what's your plan tomorrow? Do you have anything that I need to know of, right? Like sometimes he's got meetings that I don't know of. I don't look at his work calendar and I could be expecting him to participate in the morning routine with getting them off to school or especially on the weekend. We could have very different ideas on what we're trying to accomplish, right? I could be like, oh, I really want to go to the farmer's market and check that out. And he's like, well, we need to do this inside the house. So making sure that we're on the same page and talking about things like this, whether it's at night, the morning of, or maybe it's once a week and you go through the calendar and talk about what's coming up and what we each need to know about it. One thing that's been really helpful, and I'm not an affiliate for this, although, hey, if you want to work with me, that'd be amazing. But one thing that we recently got was the Skylight calendar, and that has been amazing. It integrates with Google Calendar. Okay. I'm an Android person. I know a bunch of you are Apple people. I know most of the people I hang out with are Apple people, but anyway, we're an Android family. And it shows all of our calendars. It shows to-do lists. It's got chore lists for the kids. And it's been so awesome just getting like a snapshot of what's going on. So if you want like a family hub that's digital, I highly recommend checking this out. We initially got the Hearse, I don't know how to pronounce it. And that didn't work out for our family. It didn't quite do what we needed it to do. And I am loving the Skylight calendar. So shout out to my co-parent who has this and showed me this because I was like, okay, we need that in our house too. The second thing is, I kind of just mentioned it, was discussing your goals so that you can work together to figure out who's going to do what, how you're going to work together, how you're going to make things happen. We can go through our daily routine and be so clueless as to what the other person wants to get done. And in that process, you could end up crossing hairs because you're like, well, I want to do this. And then your partner's like, well, I want to do that. And it's not quite syncing up, right? So you can have two very different ideas, get confusing, it can get messy, and aligning on your goals, right? Even if it's not the same goal, just talking about it in general is going to inherently bring up an opportunity to problem solve together, to come up with a solution so that both of your goals can be met. Maybe on one day it's their goal, and then on another day it's your goal, whatever it is. Being able to communicate it and not just assume that the way you see it working out in your head is how it's going to go is going to prevent so much drama from coming up in your relationship. The third one is taking into consideration what everyone is dealing with right now. Okay, I gave you the lowdown on everything that happened, right? And that's like on a high level. As you can imagine, there's like lots of subtasks that go into making all of those things happen. And we have to remember that move was stressful on everyone. Okay. Being in a new city, not knowing hardly anyone is stressful. Change is stressful. Settling into a home where everything is so messy because there's boxes everywhere and not everything has a home yet is stressful. The kids leaving their core friend group is stressful. Finding their way in a new city, stressful. And so remembering where's everyone at is really important because we can be expecting an unfair amount of regulation. I mean, nervous system regulation, when I say regulation, emotional regulation. We can be expecting an unfair level from everyone, which just damages relationships. So when they take into consideration, how is everyone doing? It allows us to remember our humanity, to be more forgiving at this time, to give people more grace at this time, and remembering that we're all doing our best. And that even though we may be having a hard time with some behaviors, to not connect the person to the behavior and having that line of separation and being able to still have that conversation about, hey, this isn't okay with me, but also still offering compassion to the person demonstrating that behavior, whether it's your kids, whether it's you, whether it's your husband. It's important to remember what we're all going through so that we don't set ourselves and our relationships up for failure, for hardship. There's plenty of hardship out there. Let's not create it where it's not needed, right? The fourth one is this one was a big one and a game changer for us. Notice where the kids can step up. If you are the kind of mom who loves to be there for your kid by doing things for them so that they can go live their kid life, I want you to check in on how exhausted you are, how stressed out you are. If you are really stressed out and you feel burned out, maybe it's time to take a look at where the kids can do more to pitch in the home. So over the summer, we decided after a certain time, they would have additional responsibilities to take care of. Age appropriate, of course, but we want our kids to feel like contributing members of the family. We want us as parents to not feel burned out. We want to all feel like we are a team working towards keeping the house a home that we actually want to be in and not just escape from because it's so chaotic with toys everywhere and everything looking messy. And I, as the mom, certainly don't want to feel resentment towards anyone in my family. And so we have been giving them more responsibilities. They've been adding it to the Skylight calendar so they can check it off, and I don't have to be that broken record where every day, like clockwork, did you do this? Did you do that? I'm just like, hey, you want to do something? Go check your list. Go check your list. So instead of reading off a long list of things that they have to do and managing the process, I'm just saying one phrase. And that has been such a relief on me, on my husband, and they're becoming more autonomous, more independent, more helpful. And that has been amazing. Okay. And I am someone who grew up where my mom did everything for me, thinking she was helping me. And I love her for this. And I understand why she did this because she was raised by her refugee grandma who made her do everything because she was the youngest female in the home when they were growing up. And so she was like, I am not having my kids do this. However, as I got older, especially when I got into college, I realized that a lot of people knew how to do stuff, particularly domestic things that I did not know. And it was embarrassing. And so having had that experience growing up, I am very insistent on preparing my kids to be an adult, to be able to live on their own or be a considerate roommate. And that's through giving them responsibilities at home. That's practice, right? They are practicing how to be an adult by doing these things. And so if by the time they go into high school, they know how to do all these things that are required to be a functioning, responsible adult, I will feel so good. Okay. Because I don't want to create someone that's helpless. I don't want to make them feel like they are not equipped for adulting. That would mean that I failed as a parent, in my opinion. Okay. So take a look. There's plenty of things on Pinterest that list out age appropriate chores for your child. And you know your child best, you know what they're capable of. So feel free to dip into the older age categories if you want to add stuff there, or give them the younger age stuff if they need some additional help or additional time to be able to take on the harder stuff. The next one is being intentional about connecting. This goes without saying, okay? Whether you're making big life decisions and things are crazy or not, this needs to happen in your marriage. Connection is the backbone, okay? Without a strong connection, everything goes to shit. Communication, daily life. So This is super, super important. Remembering to intentionally connect for my husband and I has been critical because we just moved away from everyone in our family to a new state that we have no family in, right? Absolutely no family and no close friends. We have our co parents, but they have their hands full with their kids. And so we can't just be like, hey, let's call someone and go on a date. And so this summer, especially since we had the kids at home a lot, on the weeks that they had camp, we would go on morning dates. We went to watch movies at 10 in the morning, which we've never done. We went to breakfast. We go on walks. Like, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could just be sitting at the table, enjoying breakfast together that you made at home, or getting takeout and bringing it back. Or, like I said, going on a walk, playing a board game, right? You've got to make the time to connect, even if it's a short amount of time. If you've been here with me for a while, you know that I talk about micro connections. And if you're new to that phrase, micro connections are just the little itty bitty things that you can do to let your partner know that you notice them, you see them. These are the things that bridge the moments of connections, like your date nights, like your vacations without kids, right? If you do. So these are things like going over to your partner and checking in on him. Hey, how are things going? Or flirting with him, sending reels or Reddit things. He's been sending me lots of Reddit things lately, and I'll send him like Instagram reels. Just reaching out and showing them that you're thinking of them, or hugging, right? Or stopping to kiss, or making their favorite food, buying their favorite thing at the grocery store, or anything that goes under the 5 love languages can count, right? It doesn't all have to be like, oh, I need an hour. I need a half an hour. It could be 30 seconds. If you haven't tried this yet, a 30-second hug is actually really amazing. After you get over the awkwardness of, are we really still hugging? You get to settle into each other and it just feels so nice. You feel more connected physically that way. So, anyway, the sixth one is celebrate your wins. There have been so many times where we have done things that worked out in our favor that we kind of just glossed over. Like, okay, cool, check, right? It's almost like a checklist. Check it off and then we move on. But over the years, I have learned that romanticizing your life adds so much more meaning to it. Now, what do I mean by romanticizing your life? I want you to think of those rom-coms that you love or the Lifetime movies, right? You feel like these little moments that they have are so meaningful with the music selection, with them really embracing the moment. Romanticizing your life is really just being present. It's almost like squeezing every little drop of juice that you can out of that win, out of that sentimental moment. It's being present, making a big deal out of everything positive you experience rather than treating it like any other passing moment. And this could be on your own, like when you're on a walk, noticing how pretty the flowers are, noticing how soothing it is to hear the birds chirping, or noticing a dragonfly fly by. There are so many bugs here, by the way. That alone is something I'm still getting used to. Anyway, I digress. But things like that. Or, expressing your gratitude, like your deep, deep gratitude for something that your partner did for you that may have gone unnoticed, or even if you expect it and you may have not said anything before, but going to them and intentionally letting them know how grateful you are if they did that. Whether it's, hey, thank you so much for making me breakfast, or thank you so much for, you know, um, bringing my water up, anything that you would have done otherwise, that you feel really appreciative that they actually thought of you and did the thing to help your life be easier. If you can't tell, my me love language is acts of service. So like that is a huge deal to me. Anytime he does something for me, I'm just like so grateful. So am I 100% always on top of expressing gratitude? No, but I do my best. And so I want you to try and see where you can romanticize your life, just like how you make a big deal out of what your kid does, right? Like my preschooler bringing home artwork that I cannot for the life of me tell what it is, but as soon as she tells what it is, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's amazing. I love the colors that you use. I love the different shading you did or the shapes that you did, whatever. Or my son brought home a worksheet that she did in class. And I'm like, wow, your handwriting has gotten so much better. I actually think it looks better than dad's handwriting now, right? Let's apply that to us and our lives and our relationships because we deserve it, right? Give yourself your flowers, give yourself kudos, acknowledge all the goodness that is happening in your life because you know for sure that anytime something bad happens, our mind is very quick to make this so bad, right? It over dramatizes what happened. What if we applied the same thing to the positive things in our life? Wouldn't life feel a little more harmonious that way? Less skewed, right? And the last thing is be real with each other. Don't be afraid to have those honest, vulnerable conversations with your partner. Now, this is coming from someone who struggled with communication before, hence why I do this now. I was very insistent on not experiencing the awful communication that I had in previous relationships with my husband. And I wanted to be able to have a marriage, a relationship that felt smoother, calmer, more mature. And so I grew as a communicator. And in that process, I understand how hard it is to be vulnerable, to be raw, to be honest, to actually say what might even feel like is locked up in there, but to reveal it and how vulnerable you can feel. Like, oh my gosh, someone's actually going to see me, even though deep down inside we want to be seen. Kind of funny that way, right? But having those kinds of conversations has helped us survive and grow over the last 7 months from what's been hard. Like, for example, this summer has been really hard for me, having the kids at home, listening to them fighting, listening to them whining, listening to just so much noise, right? And yes, they're just being kids, which is fine, but I also have my limits, my capacity. And so I had plenty of conversations about how I'm like, I am losing. I am burning out. I need this. I need that. I want that. Right. In the past, I wouldn't have said that. I would have powered through thinking I'm strong by not complaining. I'm strong by not saying anything. This is just what parenthood is like. And then snap at everyone. Be cranky all the time. Wake up angry and just take it out on everyone. But instead, I verbalized and putting it out there and allowing him to see me in my current state helped a lot because he was able to adjust how he interacted with me. He was able to offer support where he could, even though work is super busy for him. And I was able to give myself grace and give myself the permission to set boundaries with my kids, to let them know my current state and remove myself from the room if I need to so that I wouldn't lose it because I don't want to lose it, right? It's not their fault that I feel more impatient than normal. And so Be real with your partner about what's been hard, what you need help with, what you want, what you don't want, boundaries, right? This is true every single day of your relationship. There's never going to be a time in your relationship that you're going to be done having these kinds of conversations. So have them, okay? That way, your relationship will be based on actual truth, which is going to foster actual intimacy, actual connection. But if you're both pretending and not really letting each other in, that will stifle the growth and the future of your marriage. Okay? So keep each other in the loop, discuss your goals and work together. Take into consideration what everyone is dealing with and give more grace. Notice where the kids can step up to be a contributing member to the family so that there's more teamwork going on, less resentment or no resentment. Being intentional about connecting, micro connections, celebrating your wins, romanticizing your life where you can, and being real with each other. Having that vulnerable conversation, communicating with each other, and being super honest in a way that will help your marriage move forward and grow. All right. Those are the 7 lessons that really hit us hard over the past 7 months. And I hope this is helpful for you. Let me know which one is resonating with you the most, or which ones, if it's more than one. Okay, reach out to me. Tell me on Instagram. I would love to hear what your experience with these things are and what has been most relatable to you. All right, well, that's all I have for today, and I'll catch you back here on the next episode.
That's it for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. I would so appreciate that. And if you love what I share here, then you're going to love and want to join my free private Facebook community that's also called Marriage and Motherhood. I hope to see and connect with you in there. Otherwise, I'll catch you back here for the next episode. Bye!